Hello everyone. Please take a seat. We will start the presentation. Please take the time to scan the QR code as we will have a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. You can add your questions during my presentation and we will check it at the end. Yes. Okay. Let's start together. So, you can't build a house on sand. It's a simple statement, but actually I quite agree with this statement. I think you all agree with this statement. And actually we all agree with this simple statement simply because it's true that it's not possible to build a house on sand, simply because if you don't have strong foundations, it will be quite difficult. Actually, I'm Antoine Lemegre. I'm a supply chain expert here at Odoo since 4 years now. And I'm working with my team. I'm doing a lot of different implementation in warehouses. And we made similar observation in warehouses. Because we often observe that the foundations of the warehouses are not strong enough in order to build a strong Odoo. So as I said, we made some observations, like the fact that often we observe that there is a lack of supply chain expertise in-house when we have a customer. The customer will often use his common sense over data analysis and more his intuition over best practices in order to take some decisions. This will have a real impact, firstly on the business of the customer, not even thinking about Odoo. There will be directly an impact because the customer will have some inefficient processes. Some resources will be wasted and it will lead to a competitive disadvantage. So an increase of the cost because the supply chain is not optimized. Then there will be another impact, an Odoo impact, because the project will be delayed, might be delayed when we will implement Odoo. It will lead to some customer frustration, and finally you will have lower Odoo benefits. So yeah, that's not the best thing. So actually, if I can wrap up here my introduction simply, an inefficient supply chain will impact two different persons. Firstly, the customer in a business way, his process will be inefficient and so on, and the partner as well. In order to implement Odoo, it will be more difficult to do it on messy processes. So that's why I want you to understand and to remember a simple message from this presentation. It's really important to audit your supply chain before an implementation. Thanks to that, you will be able to build those foundations, those strong foundations, in order to prepare a smooth implementation. So, at Odoo, actually, we are doing this. We are auditing a lot of different supply chain before implementing. Thanks to our new service, which is called the Supply Chain Audit service. And this service leads to 3 different things. Firstly, thanks to this service, we understand the supply chain processes of the customer, which is really important for us. Then, because we have an expertise, a supply chain expertise, we implement Odoo in different warehouses. We see a lot of different supply chains. We understand what are the industry best practices. And we are able to suggest industry best practices to the customers. Finally, third point, we will tackle the customer's bottleneck. Each warehouse has its own specific bottlenecks, and so thanks to this supply chain background, we understand the bottlenecks with the customer, and we solve those bottlenecks. So the output of this service is really to provide business recommendations that are Odoo compatible. Now, let me give you some information about this service. What is our methodology? Quickly. Firstly, we will start the service by assessing the situation. We have to understand what is going on in the warehouse, what are the processes, and so on. So we will go inside, ask our question, and so on. So at the end of this assessment phase, we will end up with some pain points, and we will have to define a scope with the customer. So we will choose the most painful points for the customer in order to make sure that we analyze those pain points. Then when we are done with the scope, we will start to analyze it according to 2 dimensions. Firstly, the industry best practice, Can we propose some industry best practices to the customer? And then the customer-specific bottlenecks, is it possible for us to really analyze specific bottlenecks of the customer? And the final phase is really the improvement of the supply chain. That's really the output of this service, as we will deliver a report containing recommendations firstly about industry best practices, then about how you can solve your specific bottlenecks, and finally with an action plan with a timeline. An action plan with a timeline because we want the customer to know what is the best moment in order to implement those recommendations. Firstly, as you can see, so this is an example actually of an action plan that we delivered to a customer. You have here the recommendations to implement before Odoo. So you can see recommendation 11 of the report was the modification of the warehouse structure. It had a 3-star importance. It was really important for the customer to implement it before Odoo. Then same logic for the recommendation to be implemented during Odoo with the adoption of the wave picking, relevant for the customer in that case, and also the ABC classification. Same logic for all the recommendation and also for what happens after the implementation, so for the recommendation to be implemented on a more long-term basis. So that's really the output of the service here. And actually, it's also important for you to understand a bit more what is the time investment, the time needed in order to provide the service. We are quite flexible. That's the thing to remember from this. Actually, it can start with a limited scope. It can be like a customer knowing that he has 2 or 3 specific bottlenecks and he wants some advice for it. So during a minimum of 8 hours, we'll analyze those. And then it goes on and on and on until a large scope when we will provide a full analysis about all the different pain points, and we will go on site and we'll deliver a complete report with our recommendations. Now, I know that we have some customers, direct customers here in the room, and actually you're probably wondering why should I ask for this service? Actually, I think that this service will be really interesting for you because if you are a customer that feels that you maybe lack of supply chain expertise in your team, or maybe you feel that you are facing some bottlenecks, so every day is a bit painful because you know that something is difficult to handle in your supply chain. Or that you feel simply that you have messy processes. Maybe you build those processes because you increased the size of your company, but you did not think about how to build them in a right way. So if you feel that something like that for you, you are the right customer for this service. Then, what are actually the right benefits, the direct benefits for a customer? Simply, firstly, it will strengthen your warehouse foundations. That's the first part. Then it will optimize your physical processes. So without even thinking about Odoo, your physical processes will be more optimized. And third part, we will provide Odoo-aligned recommendations, and this will help us to prepare a smooth implementation because you will adapt your flows according to those recommendations. So the flows will be more adapted to Odoo, and the implementation will be easier, and you will gain more added value from Odoo afterwards. Now, I know that we don't have only direct customers in the room today. We also have partners. So this part is for you, partners. I hope you're ready for that one. Because actually, we want you to deliver this service as well. That's really important for us. We are convinced that it really helps to increase the customer satisfaction. And why is that? Because we know that you are also facing complex projects as us. So with customers that have a lack of supply chain expertise. So if you feel comfortable enough with the supply chain topic, go for it and provide the service. This is really relevant. And actually, we know that sometimes it can be difficult to provide the service, as sometimes the customer would like to have some, the customer requires some stock consultancy that goes beyond Odoo, or that you feel that you need maybe more supply chain expertise, knowledge in your team, and at that moment we can collaborate. So you and us, Odoo. Actually, what will be the benefits here for you as partners if we collaborate in order to provide the service? Firstly, it will be the fact that it will add some supply chain expertise in your team. We will come with you in order to provide this service, so we can discuss about the supply chain, we can share our expertise, and it will really help you to increase the supply chain expertise in your team. Then it will help you to audit to make your supply chain audit based on the latest and the future Odoo features. We are working here at Odoo really close to the R&D. We have a clear view about the latest feature. We know also what is coming on in the pipe, so we can provide recommendations that are aligned with what is coming in Odoo. Then, third point, if we work together, you can learn our methodology and you can develop your skills with us. You can also eventually get an Odoo validation for your project. So if you are about to start a complex implementation in inventory, if we provide this service, either we do it on our side or either we do it together, it can really help you to have this validation, this Odoo validation, before you start your project. Then, finally, but the most important one, believe me, it really increases the customer satisfaction. We are providing this service, and thanks to that, the customer feels that it's not only about an Odoo implementation, it's also about an audit of the supply chain. It's something complete, and it really helps to increase this satisfaction. Now, really important, but how can we collaborate? You can choose, actually, because we have two possibilities. Either we are completely visible to your customer, and we can audit your customer with or without you. It can be a real partnership in order to audit the customer, or we can do it on our side. And then, when the implementation starts, you are the main person in order to implement Odoo. Okay? Another possibility, the non-visible way, we are not visible to your customer. The customer doesn't know that we are here, but we help you to provide the service. We give you some tips, we think with you about what could be the right recommendation, and we help you to provide this report to the customer. So you can choose about what could be the best way in order to collaborate. Now, I want you to remember one thing of this presentation, is that we all agreed about the fact that a house needs strong foundations. That's true. Actually, Odoo does too. Okay? That's super important, and you need to think about that and to build strong foundations in order to make sure that the Odoo implementation works well. Actually, before I close this presentation, I have to add something because I lied a little bit to you. This service is really powerful before the implementation. That's what I said from the beginning of this presentation. But we observe more and more that there is a new market coming on, which is the post-implementation market. So actually, the typical customer will be a customer that is on Odoo since 2, 3, 4 years, that is working with Odoo, and that feels that maybe he could improve his Odoo usability. So a service afterwards, after the implementation, can be really useful in order to do that. Also, maybe the customer builds some new processes, and we can help him to optimize those new processes. And finally, this customer typically will upgrade his database on a new version, and he doesn't know every new features. So it could be useful to adapt a bit his flow to the new features of Odoo. So this is also something really powerful, is to provide a service after the implementation in order to make sure that the new flows are aligned with the new versions of Odoo. Now, I want you to remember one thing, audit your supply chain. That's super important, and it will have many added values. The main one will be the fact that the customer will feel, or you are a customer, that you will optimize your daily operations. Okay, that's really important. Then it will help you to align your processes with Odoo. You will have more added value from Odoo, the implementation will be easier, and so on, so really nice. Finally, it will help you to secure the implementation. In case you are you do the service before the implementation, it will help you to secure this implementation. Okay? So this is really relevant because it will help you to benefit, it will directly benefit the customer, but also the partner. Now, finally, before we start with the Q&A session, I want you to remember 3 things. So again, simply, what's next? Please, have the reflex to check the foundations. That's really, really important. Whether it's your warehouse or the customer is, if you start an implementation, do it. If you are a partner and you don't feel comfortable enough in order to provide a service, let's collaborate. You can contact us directly. actually you can contact us directly by scanning the QR code here, because if you are interested, you can either meet us at the inventory booth. We are here upstairs, available the whole day in order to discuss it. And if you want, you can directly also open the webpage odoo.com/r/supply chain audit, so SCA, in order to have all the information about the service and eventually to book a meeting. Okay? Also something else, I have some business cards with me. If you are interested, you can take one of those business cards. You will simply have this QR code, the webpage QR code, and you can use it whenever you want if you feel interested. So that's it for my presentation, and we can start the Q&A session if we have some questions. So we feel that the service is now quite mature, and that's why we wanted to really share this service with you, especially to partners, because we feel like a collaboration is now really possible.
Do you come on site to assess or implement the changes?
Yeah, of course, we try to come on site. That's really important for us. Our supply chain experts, you know, we have to understand all the processes, so it's easier to come on site. And we will do it. I would say that if the customer is in Belgium, if we have more than 20 hours, we will come on site in order to make sure that we understand all the processes.
How many people work in that service?
We are a team of 10 people working currently in that service, being able to provide that service. So yeah, the team and the team is keeping, yeah, it's still increasing, so that's quite nice.
Can you help for the implementation if needed after the audit?
Sorry, can you repeat?
So if it's needed, do you help also for the implementation after the audit has been done?
If we help for the implementation after the audit, of course, we are still there. If you feel that you need us in order to help you to implement, we can do it. Actually, we can already help you for implementation thanks to partner tickets. If you feel that, yeah, as a partner you need us, you can still contact us. We will be there. And yeah, if you are a customer, actually, we will always be there for you after the service in order to implement Odoo. That's for sure.
What is the largest warehouse that you've helped implement a supply chain for, and how complicated was it?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say a warehouse which is managing some e-commerce orders with having to deliver 2,000 orders a day, which is quite complex. So we had to audit the supply chain first and then to implement Odoo. So that's yeah, that's a quite nice project with a lot of complexity.
How do you blend the audit with the implementation? So at which steps do you intervene?
At which step do we intervene? I will use this slide in order to explain that. So either really before the inventory implementation. I'm talking about the inventory implementation because sometimes we start the implementation with the accounting part, for example, but we provide the service yeah, at the same time. And then when they start the implementation, then the service is done and the customer can already work on the recommendation in order to adapt his supply chain, or after the implementation when really the customer is working on Odoo since some time, then we can work also on it. Yeah.
Does Odoo also have other services like this, audit services, I guess?
Yeah, we have a lot of different services. Actually, as Odoo partners, you have a page, odoo.com My Partners, where you have all the information and you can find over there all the specific services that are proposed by Odoo. You can find, for example, service about marketing, service about SEO, service about how to build your KPIs and so on. So really a lot of different services. So don't hesitate to check your partner page and you will find all the information. And if you are a customer, you can simply type odoo.com and check the different services. For example, our service is the supply chain audit, but you can check for other services as well, like, as I said, marketing or BI and so on. So yeah, we have multiple offers on the market, that's true.
Would you say that a complex part is also the training of the end workers, so the people working in a warehouse, or is that part actually easy since they are usually familiar with other systems?
Actually, it's not easy. I think that it's almost the most difficult part. When you have operators working in a warehouse, often those operators are working in a warehouse since 5-10 years, so they are really used to some processes. So you need to help them to change their way of working, and sometimes it's quite difficult to make them change. They are not agree about the changes and so on. So you really have to think about how can I implement this change management. That's a real thing, a real part. So yeah, we'll say that it's one of the most difficult part is to make sure that everyone is free to change, is open to the change.
That was the last question on the pad.
Great, thank you. And don't hesitate to take a business card if you want to have all the information. Thank you.